Is there any hope the student loan forgiveness thing would be approved by the SCOTUS? Edit. What implications would it have legally, if it doesn't pass? I think SCOTUS starts hearing arguments about the cases regarding Biden's forgiveness plan next week. I hope it's approved, but the realistic side of me says it won't be. Are billionaires and mega corporations campaigning for it? If the answer to my question is no, then the answer to your question is no. Yes, there is hope. One of the major issues is standing, aka are these Republican states that filed the lawsuit injured by this? That's a strong argument for the Biden side. I paid off my student loans years ago. If your loans are partially forgiven, I don't feel at a loss. So there is a strong possibility the court won't say whether the action itself is legal or illegal, but that the states aren't victims and therefore can't sue. The real issue should be the notion of unforgivable debt should be unconstitutional. There is some hope, because the implications of SCOTUS supporting the Republican arguments are pretty big. Basically, there are two cases involved here. One is the 6 Republican states saying this hurts their businesses and income, particularly Missouri and Mahela. Mahela is not involved with the case and says they will not get involved, which means the Republicans, Group A, are suing the federal government. Group C, on behalf of another party. Group B, if SCOTUS supports this, it opens the door to chaos. Anyone could sue someone else on behalf of another party, without that party's consent. The second group are the 2 individuals who say they've been hurt because they either didn't get the forgiveness or didn't get the full amount forgiven. This case basically boils down to, I don't like what the federal government did with my tax dollars. Individuals have no direct say in how federal funding works. It was a joke that the lower court approved this. Just because one person doesn't benefit, doesn't mean harm has been done, let alone that disqualifies everyone else from getting the benefit. So the Biden team's argument that neither of these cases has standing is pretty solid. This will come down to if the court decides to legislate from the bench and do something beyond the scope of the validity of the cases. Given how right-leaning the court is, there is a risk of this. But again, it opens the doors to a lot of interesting things should they go with it. Edit to add that the administration's argument for the HEROES Act giving authority is a bit shaky, and requires a broad reading. Something the conservative SCOTUS does hate. But since neither case supposedly has standing, they can't get to that yet, unless they do some creative hoop jumping. So it's all TBD. It's so frustrating to see people say that we should have planned for this. I did, but life got in the way. I've been responsible my whole life, but found a tumor on my spinal cord 2 years ago and had surgery which was ridiculously expensive, even with insurance. Now more brain lesions and I'm disabled. The loan forgiveness would change my life. I'm $19.9 thousand in debt with government loans and received a Pell Grant, so they would be completely written off. It hurts my heart so much to watch other people suffer too. Some of us just are down on our luck with no one to help. Listen, having $10,000 knocked off my loan would be absolutely amazing. There is a better chance I buy a lottery ticket and win the $10,000 though. I guess not probable, but possible. Few reasons why. 1. ACB already blocked other challenges to hear it, which kept it going last fall. Ultimately it ended up being heard. But for all the talk of her being the devil, she may go for it and convince others. 2. When the courts rule something, it usually means something is a sweeping rule for both sides until overturned. So if a future hypothetical president wants to, let's say, Appropriate already passed funds for national defense to a border wall. Depending on how this is ruled on may not be possible. Basically the same conundrum for why blocking filibusters never gets passed. Because everyone's thinking about what happens when the shoe is on the other foot.
I personally wouldn't hold my breath.
I paid off my loans end of last year. I still support student loan forgiveness because I understand it was all down to luck for me. It shouldn't be that way for everyone. Is there hope? Yes. I would say there is always hope. Given the serious ethical concerns the court has, I would say that hope rests on a very thin thread. The court was never entirely apolitical. However, the recent show of extreme partisanship is a trend we should be concerned about, because it calls the integrity and ability of the court in regards to legal interpretation into question. If Roberts exerts himself and gets this court back into line, we the people might get a fair day. However, as the court currently stands, I would want to see financial disclosures from all justices before I believe they were interpreting the law instead of voting how they were paid to vote. It'd be great for many if this passes. It'll cover less than 1 year of interest payments on my loans though. Lol. Probably not by this court. But I have no intention of giving a dime back. The Gov invested in my education twice and the market has not satisfied my living standards, and I don't feel aptly prepared for the world which they claimed I would be ready for. Fuck student loans. After these 3 years of no payments they won't see people start back up. We've allocated that money to more amenable needs to live. Not your poor investments, Uncle Sam. Biden was well within legality to do it, due to the HEROES Act. The only concern was the usage of the word crisis, which I think fits COVID and the following market crash and inflation just as much as 9/11. HEROES Act was enacted in response to 9/11 if I recall. I don't have any hope for it unfortunately, because the SCOTUS clearly don't care about anything that wasn't explicitly mentioned in the Constitution hundreds of years ago. And even if this wasn't the case, they are severely biased conservatively. Thus they would make a decision that appeals to conservative ideals, regardless of whether or not it was well-reasoned, necessary, and legal. Post-Roe versus Wade being overturned, I have no hope. This might have passed 10 years ago under the same circumstances, but I don't think it will now. Not sure of the implications post-decision, but I think it would severely affect the Democrats in the next election, and sow even more anger from disaffected millennials and General Z. Nope, because student loan forgiveness isn't in the interest of billionaires. On top of that, I'm 99% sure if we started to actually shift things into a forceful progressive act, we'd see another JFK situation on the current sitting president. Easily. Audit the Fed. The worst part of the whole situation is this: they could forgive the loans, but the system is still FCKED. They need to fix the student loan system. The schools should have a vested interest in people finishing their degrees. I am in my 40s. I only just got my first degree last year because finally found a school that focused on the student, nonprofit, etc. I have $60K in student loan debt. All but about $10K is from previous school's interest on the loan that I never graduated from. Never got anything out of them. Interest is what kills most student borrowers too. The system needs revamping. And there's been some bipartisan work on it. Just won't ever do anything about it cause what else will they lie about to get elected? You know, I'd be satisfied if they would say we are going to set it back to the amount you owed on the day you graduated and make it a zero interest loan. That way people could pay as much as they could and their amounts would actually go down. I made years of payments, but because it wasn't enough, my debt kept going up. SCOTUS is corrupt. No, it will not pass. The Supreme Court is bought and paid for by the GOP. Ain't no way it'll go through.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.